I didn't set out looking for anything unusual. In fact, I was trying to escape the strange. After months of chasing gigs across hollow towns and photographing half-collapsed barns or the peeling wallpaper of long-forgotten motels, I wanted something quieter, something that didn't feel like it was watching me back. That's when the message came. Natalie, an old friend who'd moved to the coast years ago, sent me a simple text. Found a place you might like. Locals won't go near it. Creepy but beautiful. Totally your vibe. Attached was a pin drop and a blurry photo of a lighthouse silhouetted in thick fog. At first, I ignored it. I'd told myself I was done with the whole dark tourism thing. No more ghost towns. No more crumbling factories soaked in graffiti and whispered rumors. But the image stuck with me. That lighthouse didn't look decrepit. It looked waiting. 3 days later, curiosity won out. I left just before sunrise on a Thursday morning in early November. The roads were still slick from last night's rain, and the further I drove, the more the world seemed to pull inward. Towns got smaller. Gas stations turned into rusted pumps with cracked glass, and GPS directions gave up entirely about 20 miles outside a place called Marlin Creek. Darrow's Point wasn't even on road signs. To get there, you had to ignore the no trespassing warning nailed to a warped fence and follow a winding path that twisted through thick woods. Fallen leaves masked most of the trail, and low-hanging fog slithered between tree trunks like smoke. It felt like the kind of road that forgot it had a destination. But eventually, it opened up. The trees gave way to a jagged cliffside, and there, perched like a sentinel at the very edge of the world, stood the lighthouse. It was tall, narrow, and slightly leaning, like it had grown weary of holding its ground against the wind. The outer paint had long since faded, revealing layers of graying wood and rusted metal beneath. The lantern room at the top was intact, though dark, and the glass looked strangely clean, untouched by time or storms. There was no fence, no warning signs, just the wind, the crash of unseen waves below, and the overwhelming feeling that I was being watched. I parked nearby and stepped out, camera in hand. Something about the air felt heavy, as if silence here wasn't just an absence of noise, but a presence in itself. My boots crunched over gravel as I approached the door, which stood slightly ajar, creaking in rhythm with the wind. I pushed it open. Inside, the air was thick with salt and damp wood. The spiral staircase stretched upward into darkness, each step groaning under its own age. I started to climb, not out of bravery, but because something pulled at me like a thread caught on my thoughts, gently tugging me forward. By the time I reached the top, the sky outside had grown darker. I could see the sea, endless and black, crashing against jagged rocks far below. But inside the lantern room, everything was still. No birds, no insects, just me, my breath, and the lingering sense that I wasn't alone. The lens, though unlit, reflected something behind me. When I turned, nothing was there, but I stayed anyway. That first visit was the beginning, not of a project, but an obsession. Because the truth is, I didn't find the lighthouse. It found me. I spent a few hours exploring, taking photos, and trying not to breathe too deep. The silence was constant, oppressive. I remember feeling like I shouldn't be there, like I was being watched. I chalked it up to my imagination and told myself I'd come back the next night to get some long exposure night shots of the tower against the stars. The weather was supposed to be clear, but I couldn't stop thinking about that place. That night, back in my motel room, I kept hearing creaking sounds and soft wind blowing against the window. When I looked out, there was no breeze. The trees weren't moving. My camera, sitting on the desk, had drained 2 full batteries without taking a single shot. I went back the next evening. This time, something had changed. The door wasn't how I left it. I remember clearly propping it open with a rock. Now it was shut. The rock was gone. I pushed it open again, slower this time. The air inside was colder than it should have been, like stepping into a freezer. I climbed the stairs to the top with a flashlight in hand. The lens room still had the enormous Fresnel lens intact. The glass was dirty, but the view outside was breathtaking coastline disappearing into the mist. waves pounding far below. I set up my tripod, pointed it out one of the cleaner panes, and started capturing some long exposures. Then something odd happened. My flashlight flickered. Then my camera shut off mid-exposure. No warning, no beep. Just dead. I checked the battery, it was fully charged. I turned to look at the stairs behind me, and for the first time, I noticed something scratched into the wall above the doorway. It never stops. No dates, no initials, just that. I packed up and left in a rush. I told myself I'd had enough. Maybe Natalie had been playing some stupid joke. Maybe this place was dangerous, structurally unsound, or worse. I drove back to the motel, locked my door, slept with the light on. But I woke up around 3 a.m. to a beam of light shining into my window, not from the motel parking lot, not a car, a sweeping circular beam like from a lighthouse. But that couldn't be. The Darrow's Point Lighthouse had been out of operation since 1962. No power, no maintenance, completely disconnected from the grid. I pulled open the curtains and looked toward the bluff. A pale, white beam sliced through the night, turning slowly, deliberately, a full, eerie rotation every few seconds. Then it stopped, pointed directly at me, just for a moment. I didn't sleep after that. The next morning, I asked the motel owner if he'd ever heard about the lighthouse being restored. He looked confused. "What lighthouse?" he asked. "Darrow's Point, the one just past the road sign." He furrowed his brow. "Son, there ain't been a working light there in 60 years. Place fell apart long ago." I showed him the photos I'd taken. He studied them slowly. "This ain't right," he said. "Those windows, they were boarded up when I was a kid, and the lens was shattered during a storm in '72. But it's intact now," I said. "I was just in there last night." He shook his head. "You might want to leave that place alone." I should have listened. That night, I did something reckless. I went back. I wanted answers. This time, I brought backup batteries, a backup flashlight, and even a voice recorder. I started recording the moment I got to the front door. The door opened by itself. I swear to God, it just creaked open like it was welcoming me in. The interior was darker than before, like the shadows were thicker. I turned on the recorder and started climbing the stairs, slowly, step by step. At the top, the lens was gone. Where it had once stood, huge, beautiful glasswork there, was nothing but an empty metal base. I started to panic. I looked down at my camera. It was off again. Then I heard the footsteps, coming up the stairs, heavy, wet. I called out, "Hello? Who's there?" But there was no reply. The steps stopped just below the final turn of the staircase. I leaned over the railing with my flashlight, but there was no one there. Then the door at the base slammed shut. The entire tower shook. My flashlight died. Total darkness. I backed up, fumbling for the recorder. I pressed play. Nothing but static. Then I heard a voice. Low, wet, gurgling. It said my name. Not shouted, whispered, like it was breathing it through water. I didn't wait. I bolted down the stairs. Every step groaned under my weight, the sound echoing too long, like the stairwell went deeper than it should have. When I reached the door, it was open again. The wind hit me like a wall, and the light at the top, it was back on, shining, rotating, slowly. I ran to my car. I didn't stop until I got back to the motel. I left town before sunrise, never told Natalie what I saw. That was 6 months ago. I moved states, changed my number, deleted all the photos from that trip. But last night, it came back. From my new apartment, miles away, 3 states from where it all started. I saw it again, a light, distant and steady, cutting through the dark sky. It moved slowly across the horizon, like something searching for me. And then, my phone buzzed. 3 a.m. on the dot. No caller ID, just static. And through the crackling, a voice. Low. Familiar. It never stops.